You were told to be quiet. You were told to shrink. You were told that love meant pain. Here you are. Here you rise. Welcome to Powerful Woman Rising from Narcissistic Abuse. The show where we break the chains of narcissistic abuse, reclaim our power, and step into the unstoppable force we were always meant to be. I'm Azadeh, best-selling author, narcissistic abuse educator, and coach to high achievers. Together, we'll uncover the truth, rewrite our stories, and ignite the power within. It's time to rise, it's time to heal, and it's time to take your life back. Welcome to another episode of Powerful Woman Rising from Narcissistic Abuse. What a guest. I am so honored, and I just hope I don't cry, but I probably will, and that's okay. I'm so honored and excited to have this next guest I'm about to introduce. So follow me, guys. Everybody follow me. Amberly Lago. She is a mindset coach, a keynote speaker. She is a two times bestseller, USA bestseller. She is the founder of Unstoppable Woman's Mastermind. She is a friend. She's my mentor. She's my sober sister. And I am so excited to have her on the show. Welcome, Amberly.
Azadeh, I love you. Thank you for having me on the show.
Absolutely. This is so exciting because the message here is so much about how did we rise? How did we rebuild? And I want to go back, and most of us, if you know Amberly's story, you know that she was in a horrific motorcycle accident with 34 surgeries, always thinking about if she's going to walk, have a leg, not have a leg, how is this going to happen? But we're going to talk about another whirlwind of a story here that was so significant in her life. So we want to start you off. I remember you sharing with me. I want to start off here. I remember you sharing with me being in an apartment, a one-bedroom apartment with a baby and a bed. Can we
And
start there?
being so happy just because I felt free, I felt safe, but I had, a mattress actually, and it's all I had. I had a crib, a mattress, and it was this tiny one-bedroom apartment in an area that wasn't so great in North Hollywood. But I was free. I got my daughter out of harm's way. I was not in a very good marriage, and it just continued to go downhill and get worse and worse and worse. And it took a lot of courage to get out of that. But I think what gave me the courage to get out of it is and this is something I haven't really talked about much, just because I've never wanted to say anything about my ex-husband because of my daughter, for my daughter's sake. But it wasn't good. And when I could see that how it was going to affect her and she would think, oh, this is how women are treated, I thought, I cannot raise my child in an environment where, she thinks that that's how a woman should be treated. And so I don't know if I necessarily had that strength and courage to get out. For me, I felt so beat down, knocked down, just every ounce of confidence had just been chipped away. I'd lost myself. I was like, my spirit, everything, I felt broken. And I think just really that mama bear instinct to protect my daughter is what gave me the strength. And I think you may have been to the house and seen the picture that I have of I'm looking back and I'm looking at my daughter and she's standing and she just has a little diaper on, and the neighbor actually took that picture. And it's one of my favorite pictures because it's the day that we moved into that apartment, and it was the day that I got to start over and start to build my life again.
My God. So your rising and rebuilding was motherly love. It started with her, it started for her future, her imprints, her relationship, what she's going to be exposed for. It wasn't so much, or how much would you say it was for you and how much for her? It sounds like a lot for her, right?
Yeah, it was. And I thought for a long time, I thought, well, I can get past the cheating. I can forgive. I want to stay together for the sake of our daughter. But as I said, it just continued to get worse and worse. And I thought, this is not a good place for me or her to be. And you know, um, things are good now, but gosh, that's been almost 30 years ago. I was only married to him in my book. I don't talk about him, my first book, True Grit and Grace, because I thought he would come after me. And so the only thing I say about him in my first book is I was married long enough to have our beautiful daughter, Savannah, and that's it. That's it. Out.
Wow. And so, what was, as a mindset coach, what was the mindset? What was that moment from, tell it, take us back to that moment where it was, can I forgive again? Can I forgive again for the daughter, for Savannah's sake? Or that's it, I'm done, no more, end of this and moving forward. Tell us about your mindset.
Well, the mindset, I had slowly kind of isolated myself, and I'd kind of lost a lot of my friends because I was only 23 and my friends were professional dancers and they were on the road and they were on tour. And here I was the only one of my friends that had a kid. And so I felt like also my family was upset when I got pregnant because I got pregnant and I wasn't married. And so they came around once I did get married. But the mindset, I think, for me was so concerned about, and it got really bad when I realized, oh my gosh, this isn't safe. Is when I was like, I'm out. And as you well know, when you reject a narcissist, it's not easy. It's hard. They want to make your life hell. So I think going through that time
Mm.
emotionally was probably harder than going through the time after my motorcycle accident and surgery after surgery, 34 surgeries in total. That was so hard to me, or for me, because I didn't want it to affect Savannah, and so I think what really helped me in that time was starting to change the people that I was surrounding myself with. I started, thank goodness, had really some really close girlfriends that I don't know what I would have done had I not had them to come over to my house at 5 o'clock in the morning and babysit for me so I could go train clients. I was just focused on the things that I could do. I got really connected with God and kept God close. And I think just being around away from that toxic environment where, you know, I, I'm like, I'm not crazy. Like that was not okay to be treated this way. But after a while, it was almost like I just started to believe all the things that I was being told, and it was breaking out of that relationship and really surrounding myself with positive people and prayer and reading any self-help books like Codependent No More, The Four Agreements, any books that I could get my hands on just to start strengthening myself mentally, physically, and spiritually in every way, because I think it does start with mindset, but so much of it for me too was just starting to move my body again and starting to get stronger again. I had lost so much weight. I mean, I I see pictures of myself back then, and I was 5'11". Now I'm 5'10". I'm shrinking, but I was like 112 pounds. I was just like a shell of myself. And so, and I remember one day sitting on the couch with my ex-husband, and I would just, he was constantly knocking me down for how I looked and everything. And I said, I'll never be thin enough, will I? And he said, no, you won't. And I looked sick. I was sick. I see pictures and it was like I was turning yellow. I was just malnourished. And to be 5'11" and 112 pounds, I was just, had to get stronger physically too.
Oh my God. So many points. So many points that I want to touch on, but the one that I want to start with is that emotional withdrawal, which is a trauma bond. We are emotionally dependent to our abuser. And that is, we talk about it in the community. It is like coming off a drug. It's like coming off a drug, this emotional, it's like, I remember it like an elephant standing on my chest, just constantly. It's like this, just can't really. How was this also
Well,
brings,
I think too, like I so wanted to believe the things that I was being told.
yeah.
I so wanted to believe that things were going to be different this time. And I'll never forget, after I had already moved out, and he said, well, I'll help you find a place. Meet me at my, he had, we split. Was in an apartment and I was in an apartment. And he, I guess, forgot that he told me to come over and meet him so he could help me go find an apartment. And I was like, well, maybe we'll move back in together. And I get there and he's with another girl. And I walked in on them. And I was just like, I needed to see that though, because I was like, why did I believe that again? Why did I believe him again?
Oh my God, I didn't know that part about your story. And it's like a curse and a grace, because once we see it, it locks it in. We no longer have to be in that self-doubt or that cognitive dissonance. Is it or isn't it? Is it, isn't it? Is it me? Is it this? Is it? But then when you see it, then it really crystallizes the truth for us.
Yeah.
Now, were you, because we, as Amberly and I are both, to our viewers, sober sisters, and we walk a sober life. How was your addiction at that time? Were you
I
drinking?
No, I wasn't even really drinking
Oh,
then. I
wow.
had no
Oh, wow.
idea that I was going to become an alcoholic because I didn't drink. I was so focused on career, keeping a roof over our head. I didn't start drinking until after my motorcycle accident, really. I mean, there would be occasionally I might have a glass of wine or something, but I became like dependent on alcohol. I was self-medicating. It wasn't that I was having fun drinking.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's
Yeah.
have some
Yeah.
champagne. Let's go
Yeah.
to the bars.
Yeah.
I was like sneaking my drinking just to try to get out of pain. I just wanted a little reprieve just to get out of this physical pain from complex regional pain syndrome, which is a nerve disease I was diagnosed with after my motorcycle accident. And so I wasn't drinking then, thank goodness, because I was really a good role model back then for my daughter. Um, but yeah, I didn't get into drinking until, gosh, 2000, I'd say probably 2012, maybe.
Oh, wow. And then you ended that relationship what year?
Oh, we got divorced. I was only with him for a year in 1995.
Oh my God. But that 1 year, right? It really, it affects our whole entire life. And tell me, do you think that from that relationship that you became more driven, more committed, and more like the Phoenix Sun? Is there things about that relationship that forced you to be if as if you weren't versus you weren't in that relationship? And if there was, please tell us what those were. What did you get out of it?
Well, I think that anytime we go through a challenge or adversity or just a hard time, we have a choice and we can give in to the fear or give up, or we can choose to say, I am resilient, I am strong, I'm getting through this.
Yeah.
And I learned um, a lot about myself too, how the type of men that I was picking. I always say I had a broken picker. I was picking. I right after that relationship, I had another relationship, and I was like, "Gosh, this guy is like totally different, but why is it so similar? They're acting exactly the same, but I thought this time I chose someone who was different and I realized I didn't. And so I got into therapy. And actually, it's when I thought that I had dealt with sexual abuse from a child, when I was a child. And I went into therapy and I was talking to my therapist who was also sober. And I was complaining about the relationship, and she's like, "Well, you teach people how to treat you." And I was like, "Oh, you're right." It's up to me to, teach others. It's up to us to teach others how to treat us. And so when I was in therapy, like I'm telling her all this stuff that's going on in my relationships, and she goes, "Were you sexually abused as a child?" And
Oh,
I said, "Well, yeah, but I'm not here about that. I'm here about my relationship." And she goes, "Have you?" I said, "I've already worked on that. I've dealt with that." And she goes, "No, I don't think you've dealt with it at all. And until you start to really go deep and do the work, you're going to keep picking the same type of men that don't treat you well." And so I was like, as hard as it was, I went to therapy, I read more books, and started to deal with that. But there's so many layers to that, any kind of trauma. And there are some times where I still will get triggered and I'm like, well, dang it. Why did I get triggered? Why do I feel this way? But now I know at least I can choose to go, okay, that's what this is. I'm going to get through this. I have my meditations I can do. I can do my breath work. I can pray. I can reach out to a friend. I've really learned to take contrary action and not shut off or shut down, but to reach out instead.
yeah, this is all about solution. And I love that you just pointed out those tools that you use to um to overcome some of these triggers, because triggers do happen. It's not like we heal and then it's just all puppies and rainbows and we're on, jumping from one cloud to another. We get triggered, things come up, life happens.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that because you did the deep work, you can literally, and it's very similar for me too. I could just go back internally to go, where is this coming from? And how do I just kind of spin another story and start thinking another way, and prayer and reaching out. And solution is so available. Now, how do you, have you had other people in your business or in relationships or family or any kind of a dynamic where you felt like, oh my God, this feels familiar, like my ex? And then what did you do if that did happen?
Yeah, well, it was crazy. I could walk into a room
Yeah.
and I would pick out the one guy that was an alcoholic and that had, or not, the bad boy.
Yeah.
And
Oh, really?
oh
Oh,
my
wow, I
gosh,
didn't know
every time. But it wasn't until I started doing more work on myself that I was able to finally have a good man in my life. And now my husband and I have been together for almost 20 years. But
Wow.
it's something I still work on. I mean, look, I was just working this morning
Tell
with
me.
my sponsor, going over step work again, writing stuff down. And it's not always easy, you know.
Mhm.
Um, but looking at those past memories that might still be painful or we might have
Mhm.
shame around, looking at things that maybe we're resentful about, whether it's a person or a situation, and what seems to be the problem that I have with people, and what's my part, and what are my defects, and how can I work on that? It's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work. And I tell you, and thank you so much for sharing that, because this is a big part of why I just love you so much, because we're sober and it's a courageous walk. Not everybody chooses this path in this crazy world and business, but same thing. I'm 23 years sober, and I was on the phone with my sponsor yesterday, and she's like, let's get back into the next step that you need to be on. And son of a gun, if I don't put that phone call and that pen to paper, I get relief. Always.
Hmm.
Instantly. Instantly. Like I even texted her. I went from, that ghost emoji on our phone for Halloween. And then the one that's smiling with a bunch of hearts. I go, thank you for our call, Christine. And if she's listening, I went from the ghost to this. I mean, that's just how fast it happens for us. And I wish the world would um get this blessing, this gift, but not everybody does. But so coming back to doing the work, it is ongoing. It doesn't end. It's not over. It's not a light switch. We keep going. I keep going because I
Yeah.
find relief, and I don't want to sit in pain, right? I don't want to sit in pain. I don't want to be suffering. I want relief. So what is it like now with him? Is he still alive? Is he a part of her life?
Yes. Yeah. He's still alive. He's a part of her life.
How do you handle those phone calls? Do
I
you
don't anymore.
you don't?
Oh, because my daughter is almost 30 now, and I think when she was about 22, um, I got a call on Mother's Day telling me what a horrible mom I was, and I was just having the best day. It was Mother's Day, and my husband was like, "Block him." And I was like, "Oh, okay." He goes, "You don't have to, she's a grown woman now. You don't, why is he still calling you?" And so that one little block was like, felt so good.
No, it's like self-care. It's
Yeah.
self-care. It's totally self-care. I get that. I get
Hmm.
that 100%. So tell us now, I mean, even talking about this, does it bring up anything? I mean, do you feel
Well,
free?
it's not something that I've talked about a lot out of
Yeah, yeah.
respect to my daughter.
Right.
So that's why I don't feel like I'm going like as deep into what
Right.
exactly
Right.
happened. Just out of respect to her. And also, I really made a promise to myself that I would never speak poorly about her father to her,
Love it.
because I came from a, a divorce. My parents got divorced when I was young, and I was put in the middle a lot of times. And it was so painful, and I became like the fixer. And I thought, I am not going to put that pressure on my daughter. He can say whatever he wants. And there were a lot of things said that weren't true, but all I thought was, you know what? I don't have control over that. All I can do is keep my side of the street clean, continue being a good person, and the truth will come out. The truth always comes out, you know? And so I just kept showing up, and just trying to be the best mom that I could be.
Yeah.
And but that's why I haven't really talked about it that much. It was a really hard time of my life, especially when, I didn't have a lot of money. I mean, luckily I went to the bank and I got a loan to pay a lawyer who was the worst lawyer. It was terrible, but at least I was able to get a loan from the bank. But it was a really hard time for sure.
Oh my God. And now look, I'm thinking about your gorgeous book, Joy. And you guys, if you're listening, you got to get this book because that's the aim. That's the goal, no matter where you are in your life, in your journey, is joy. So I think about you were jerked around to joy to match the J's. And I think about share with us a little bit, how do you um, is joy forced now, or is it now just a habitual way of living? Did you have that before? Did you have to work that muscle? And now tell us about that.
Well, I think that joy for sure, we have a choice and we've got joy that comes from deep within us. But there was a time in my life where that joy kind of slipped away, and it was because I wasn't taking care of myself mentally, physically, spiritually. It was when I got deep in my addiction.
Mm,
And
mm.
and then, by the grace of God, got sober. And but then life got really good and life got super busy and my health started declining. And I have to just be very careful because I can be prone to infections because the circulation in my leg and everything that's been so compromised. And so even like a little dog bite on my leg can get infected. I have gotten a cut on my toe that I had to be hospitalized for an infection. And so I had to get back to basics, and I had to really think about what are my non-negotiables, like things that I need to do every single day in order to have more joy in my life. And so for me, it was like I need to start my day with prayer. I need to have that quiet time in the morning to write out my gratitude. And gratitude really shifts your whole perspective. It changes the way that you feel. um, I have to move my body. I have to get a little sunshine. I go out and cuddle with my pup, and walk in the grass barefoot whenever I can. But I think it's important to ask yourself, what are the things that just make you come alive with joy? And I mean, it could be a beautiful sky. It could be your favorite song. It
Mm,
could be dancing. It could
mm.
be your favorite meal. But it really comes from deep within us. But that comes through, I think, when we're taking care of ourselves in every way, mentally, physically, spiritually.
Oh, for sure, for sure. And I was thinking, dance, check. Walk barefoot, check. Let your dogs lick your face, check. Check, 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 check. All of it. Prayer, check. I love all of those things. It brings, I mean, that's our medicine. That's how we heal ourselves. And you pour so much into so many people, so many women, and with that, you can't not have a self-care routine. You can't not have breaks. You can't just pour, because it eventually becomes from an empty cup.
Mm-hmm.
And I also think too, some of us with the most trauma have the most tender hearts. I do believe that. I do, and I see that in you. And I think so. No, it's not okay, and it's never applauded to go through those traumatic times, but sometimes people get bitter and sometimes people get better. And you definitely got better. And
Oh, thank you. Well, I think that everything that I've been through allows me to understand any kind of pain or trauma that
yep,
somebody else has gone through. I
yep.
remember when I first got back I was in the fitness industry for 26 years. And when I first got back into it, I had one of my clients for 20 years.
Wow.
And I felt pretty broken. I thought, I used to train bodybuilders and get guys ready to take the test, the physical to become a CHP. I held mitts for men boxing. I mean, I ran all the time, and now I was on crutches. I was in a wheelchair. I was back on crutches. I was limping. I was barely walking. And my legs completely deformed. And I thought, who's going to want to train with me? And to my surprise, my career just took off. It boomed because people had seen me go into the gym, all these different phases of, of getting stronger, and then being back in a wheelchair, and then recovering from a surgery, but just never giving up. And one of my clients that I had, Mary Ellen, one of my favorite clients, and she said
Mm.
to me, Amberly, I think you're a better trainer now than you were before your accident. She goes, because you now understand the pain that I'm experiencing more, because she had like some nerve pain and stuff. And I could, because I knew what it felt like. So I could make modifications like just like that, because I knew, I knew I'd been through that. So whether it was physical pain, whether it's addiction, whether it's abuse, whatever it is, when you've gone through something like that, I think that it really helps you be able to relate and have compassion for others who've been through something similar.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. I really think like on this podcast, I have a lot of doctors and attorneys, and it's not, and the reason for that is I mean it connects to your what you just said. The reason I have that is because I grew up with so many doctors and attorneys that didn't go through the trauma. They just studied, got a PhD, and then talked it. And so I never really trusted them. And I remember thinking, I don't really even respect them because their actions don't match their words. But then seeing and connecting with some of the doctors that have been through this kind of a dynamic and then healed it and now help others, to me, it's so powerful. And that's why I call this podcast Powerful Woman Rising from Narcissistic Abuse. And because if we just study and say it, there's no power or heart or soul in it. But when we've been through it and transformed and then now help others transform, that's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. And you could feel that with people. I could feel that with you. I could feel it.
Oh,
It's more of a feeling, right? We trust our gut, our intuition. It's more of a feeling because we just heard words for so long.
yeah.
You know?
And I think learning to trust your gut, because for a long time, growing up with abuse and knowing that something wasn't right, but then being told that no, that is right. That is how fathers teach their daughters. I learned to not trust my gut. And so it's been a process, but I think that energy is everything. I think you can feel energy, and to trust your gut, because our head might say something, our
Yeah,
heart
exactly.
might say something, but it's our gut doesn't lie.
It doesn't lie. And then I have to be careful to not rationalize it, like, or shut it down. And that's the work. Like, no, trust it. No, no, trust it. Trust it. Trust it. Even though they say this, you feel this. It's like, and we learn that. We have to learn that in order to navigate this life, in order to navigate relationships, even in order to navigate ourselves. We have to know that. And I think it's critical for sobriety because we are
Hmm.
sober. We are very sober. Oh my gosh, Amberly, what would you say to the woman? And this is who I've been talking to a lot recently. It's unbelievable how much. What would you say to that woman? And it makes me cry. Of course it does. Um, what would you say to that powerful woman that's trying to level up her business but can't and blames herself because she's in this relationship and is silenced? And she's constantly showing up to be that performer, but the relationship is sucking her dry. What would you say? Because I see a lot of women struggling, and I've talked to a lot that struggle with their business because of this relationship. And that's where my audience is. They're struggling in their business because they're holding on to this relationship. What would you say?
Well, I think, it's so important to have a support system. And
Mm-hmm,
so if you're
mm-hmm.
not getting the kind of support from your partner, then go seek it out somewhere else. That's one of the reasons I have a mastermind for
Yeah.
women, is because when you come together and you can support each other and you can collaborate and genuinely cheer each other on, then it's going to give you the confidence to keep going. And then number two, sorry, I could hear my hubby in the other room. Sorry. Um,
Hi,
uh,
hubby. Thanks for being a good, sweet hubby.
but then next is like, if it is really not working, you have to look at your options and decide on whether or not it's the right thing to be in that relationship, or is it time to call it quits?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, eventually. So it's like saying this, and I'm just gonna quote my workbook. What is it? I have two questions. It's summed down to what you just said. What is it I don't want to see in that relationship? What is it that I don't want to see? And that pulls the truth in. That pulls it in to what's happening, what's going on. And guys, ladies, it's not that bad to be alone. It's not. I was alone 5 years before I married my husband, all alone, working on my sobriety and working on myself.
Oh, I was too. When I
Right?
got a divorce, I was like, it's just me and my daughter against the world. I built my business.
Yep.
I bought a beautiful house for us. I
Nice.
was thriving. And I had somebody say, "Oh, I really want to introduce you to somebody." And I was like, "No, no, not gonna be in a relationship. No." And then
Yeah.
I finally met him and I was like, "Oh, wow. Okay.
Okay.
This one I like."
That's so good. Ladies, don't jump from a toxic relationship to the dating app. Don't do it. Sit through the pain until you heal. I promise you, it'll help your perspective. It'll help you choose a sweet soul, not a another one with another name.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. Not another one. Just love you. Thank you so much for being here, sharing your wisdom, sharing your experience with us, being on this podcast.
Thank you. I just love you and I'm so excited you have your show.
I know it's so good. So thank you for being here. And you all just follow Amberly, see what she's doing, what she's not doing, and how you can get inspired just by going on her page. You will feel sunshine. I promise.
Oh.